Hi, everyone. So I'm here with Christina Accord, who is my project sponsor. So, do you want to say hi to everyone?
Hello,
Yeah,
I'm
so today
Christina.
I'm going to be asking her some questions about art and creative thinking in general. So, to get started, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I graduated from Kent State University in the winter of 2005. I graduated with a bachelor's of art and a minor in education. So essentially an art education degree. Back then in my time, you could get a certificate for K through 12. Now I think they break it down into age category, but my degree is good for K through 12. When I moved to Pennsylvania, I was from Cleveland. So when I moved to Pennsylvania, I had to take a bunch of comprehension tests, a whole new praxis, another class. That was not a problem, but it was just time and effort. Uh, Went through that process and did a lot of student teaching, a lot of art lessons on the side just to kind of supplement income wise. At that time, I had no children. So when I had my first child in 2007, that was pretty much when I stopped looking for a teaching job in the field. So unfortunately, art has become more of my hobby than my profession. But I do own childcare centers, so I'm able to, use my knowledge and use my experiences for professional, but also a lot of my professional stuff has, oozed into my personal life with my kids. So I've always been very much an advocate for art in the sense of, instruments, sports, fine art. So it definitely has had an impact on how I've raised my kids and the things I think that are important for them to have just a well-rounded background.
Yeah, that's great. So I think you covered part of this, but how did you start your creative journey?
So I was in college and I was always wanting to be a teacher. And to be a teacher, they wanted you to pick a concentration and have your specific area of content nailed down. So for me, it was kind of difficult because I knew that I wanted to be in art, but I wanted to be a teacher also. I more so wanted to be an artist, but I needed to have that background and that, I guess, that fallback plan of just, I can be a teacher if I can't make it in the world of printmaking and jewelry making, that are great things. But, I really had to think about how I was going to, support my career and use my education as far as in the professional world. So getting that education element was definitely very helpful.
Yeah, so from a personal perspective, what does art mean to you? So this could be like emotionally, like how it's helped you through like difficult situations. Because I know personally for me, it's helped me through a lot of my struggles in high school and elementary school, stuff like that. It's always been like my thing that's been constant for me. So like what does
Right.
that mean for you?
So really for me, I mean, this might be a little bit corny, but for me, it's everything. I mean, if I am planning a vacation or if I am going to, open up another business like I've been doing over the years, everything visually to me is very important. So I like things to look nice and to be pleasant and to be nice to the eye. And I like order. So I'm not like a disarray Jackson Pollock type of art lover. I like things in their place and just, I like harmonious things, but that's just one side of it. So I definitely take a lot of creative approach to everything I do. Another thing that has helped me a lot in my, I'll just say, emotional or I guess mental, you know, lifestyle is yoga. And I think that that has also been, more of not a visual art per se, but it definitely, it's using your mind and your body. And I think all of those things just work together so nicely. And definitely it's been a part of my life every day for as long as I can remember. So both visual arts and performing arts, it just all goes very well together.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like dancing for 15 years, it's definitely, even though like it's not like a pen on paper type art or like painting, like it's definitely an art in itself. So I definitely agree. Um,
Absolutely.
so what led you to want to go to school for art?
So I was always very creative. I would say that I always wanted to have my hands on something. So even if it wasn't art, it was, in the form of makeup or cosmetology or doing hair. So I definitely knew I wanted to do something in the creative field. So the art, and the nice thing about where I went to school, it was not an art based college. I mean, it had a very strong art program, but it wasn't a school that was just focused on art. So they let you pick your focus. So a lot of my friends, they went into printmaking or they went into jewelry making or glass blowing. So the nice thing about the art education, you got a little bit of everything. So you're kind of touching the surface of every concentration, but you're not a master at any of those things unless you concentrate yourself on your personal time. So I think it was just nice to have a lot of that knowledge base and have that backing me up as far as having core knowledge in one specific area. It's kind of difficult to pinpoint, but I definitely enjoyed getting my hands into a little bit of everything.
Yeah, definitely. I'm the exact same way. Like I'll try a little bit of everything, see what I like, and honestly, I like everything. Like I started ceramics class this past year at my school and I've completely taken off from it. Like it's so much fun and I love like working with clay and like just basically making something out of nothing, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, there's a really good program it's in Wheeling. I think it's at Ogilvy. I was looking into that for my son and I because just to have a hand building, learning how to throw on the wheel for him, I think that would be awesome. But I definitely think that having that creative outlet, I mean, and you probably know, you could start something at 9 o'clock and next thing you know, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. And you're just like, what happened to the day? And that
Yep.
was my story all through college. Just the day just slipped away. You can just kind of get lost in what you're working on and your projects. And I have noticed, I'll just throw this little tidbit in, like just from looking for jobs, because I still look to see what's out there. There's a lot of need for graphic design and graphic art. So that's definitely something that's a little different than when I was in school because everybody was kind of picking their concentration or they were going the education route, but the graphic design is really, there's a lot of job openings for that on large scale and small scale, anything from Trader Joe's marketing to being a creator for Apple. So there's a lot of design careers out there.
Yeah, that's definitely like a good point to make because I personally know some people that want to go into design but aren't sure like whether they should or not. So the fact that there are a lot of job openings just for that and like that specifically is
Mhm.
great opportunity for people that want to go into that. Um Along with like school and stuff and like going to college for art, what are some stories or experiences that you either liked or disliked while in school?
Well, I have actually, I thought about a couple of these. So when I was in school, I had a car on campus and I lived on campus, but nobody drove anywhere. We either took the bus or we rode our bikes. So, imagine having my big tube with my rolled up, drawings and my tube backpack. So I used to go to the ceramic studio and I would stay there and work on projects. And one time I was leaving and it was about 2:30 in the morning and my bike was stolen. So somebody
Oh
took
no.
my bike lock. I had one of those U-shaped bike locks that you need pretty much like a flame to get it off. Well, it was off my bike and my bike was gone. So I actually found my bike a couple days later at one of the other dorms and I stole it back. So that was it was a little not dangerous, but I was like, what am I supposed to do now? So luckily I had a friend a friend on campus, and she came and picked me up and took me home, but my bike was gone. So my mode of transportation at 2:30 in the morning was gone from me. So that was definitely not a great thing. And I was in the studio by myself, which, we could lock the door behind us and be in there. And, when you're in college, there's campus security and different things like that. So I didn't feel unsafe per se, because nobody was trying to break into the studio. They just wanted my bike. Probably just somebody walking home and like saw the bike there and took it. So that was one definite story that stood out in my mind. Another one was, as in college and in art school, we had to paint and draw the figure quite a bit. So I had the same model all the time in a lot of my classes. So he would do these crazy poses, and you would just think, how are you going to hold that for 2 hours? And, he would be standing there like Superman, and he was very fun to draw and paint. But it was the same person all the time. But back in college, I mean, they paid great money for you to be, a nude model or a figure that, you could paint. So it worked out for him, but same person all the time. And one last thing I remember, we used to sit on these, we called them a horse. So it was kind of like a bench, and then it had a taller piece of wood in front of you. So it was a bench, and you kind of straddled it like a horse. And you put your palette clipboard on the front of this horse. So we would sit around in our circle and, imagine drawing class. It's quiet. There's music playing, and there's a still life in front of you. So I had a teacher, she would never come over and draw on, to draw onto your stuff. She would just kind of give you some ideas. So I liked that, because I think, and that stuck with me, because I think when you take away someone's creative abilities, you're kind of inhibiting them and essentially handing them a coloring book and just telling them, do what I've already done or what someone's already prefabbed for you, and not having your creative outlets. So, and people see things differently. And honestly, sometimes it's really hard to get those still life drawings done and be satisfied, because it's, how do you use a pencil to draw a reflection on glass? It can be very difficult. So there's a lot of different tricks and different things I learned over the years. But definitely, I think if you are a teacher, just give feedback. Don't take over for somebody. So that was something that stuck with me forever. So those were all good memories. Fondly now about the bike, I mean, I'm over it, but at the moment I was like crying and freaking out. So
yeah, I remember during the pandemic, one of our activities was a Zoom, basically like a paint session, and I think you were leading it.
yes.
And I remember one of the stories you were telling was in your painting class, you weren't allowed to use straight black from the tube. You had to make your own black paint.
Yes. And when you go and, as an art student, I was always broke. I mean, I would go buy books, then supplies. And when you're in these art stores, you want to buy everything naturally.
Oh yeah.
So all these colors, and it was the rare ones like phthalo blue. I mean, these colors could be like $40 for a tube of paint, which is outrageous, but you had to have it. So yeah, we had to make our own black. So there was Mars black that was like, some people would let you use that, but some of our teachers made us make it from all the colors on the color wheel, and that's too brown, you have to add some red or whatever. Mm-hmm. So to make black, you just go opposite end of the color wheel and just keep going until you get it right. So yeah, that was definitely, that was a good time. And then we had to start from darkest and then work our way lighter. So we had to do like a grayscale with our black, and then he could really see if we had too much blue or too much red or whatever. And then he would, help us along. But somewhere, some way, that was a good learning tool. But at the time, it was definitely a pain.
Yeah, I've tried that, just like thinking about your story and stuff, and I'm like, I don't know how she did this, like time after time. Like, this is hard.
And it was almost like you had to get the right amounts too. You had to get the right
Mhm.
amounts, because if you didn't, you're wasting your whole tube of paint. And paint, like I said, some of those colors were like 40, 50, $60 a piece, and you had to make them last, because you're already spending $500-600 in canvases. And then they start teaching you how to make your own canvases and building them and gessoing them. So that was always, I think, the process of getting things to be ready to start creating was also a fun process too.
Yeah, definitely. Um, Next question. So, how has art benefit? Whoa, words. Oh my God. I'm keeping that in. Um, how has art benefited you throughout your life?
So it's definitely given me a creative outlet. So if, just now, like as a mom and as, a homeowner, like I do a lot of stained glass. So I just like that to, for my downtime. And unfortunately, I have not been as active in it as I would like, but it was just nice. Like I made people things for my friends, for my family, for my kids. It was just nice to have that ability, because people love, homemade things. So
Oh yeah.
I just love creating and having that downtime. So it was nice to have something else instead of watching TV, or, reading is fine too, but it was just nice to have that creative outlet, in your downtime, draw, pick up a sketch pad and go to it. So I definitely like having that downtime as an adult.
Yeah, definitely. I'm the same way. Like I picked up crocheting a few years ago, and of course like now I do it for hours on end. Like
That's so,
just
I could never pick that up. That's so awesome though. I just could not get it.
yeah, it takes some patience. Patience is a virtue for that, and honestly with everything. But yeah, just sitting down and being able to like hands on with something is very like honestly like relaxing, and just it's just that perfect little thing where you can escape from reality for a while.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so moving on. So what is something that you wished you had known before going into school for art?
I wish I would have known, number one, how much it was going to essentially cost every semester with the supplies. And then secondly, um, this is actually kind of sad, but a handful of my very good friends got teaching jobs in art at their high schools right out of college. With me moving, so I moved to Pennsylvania with my now ex-husband, and he was following his career, and I probably wouldn't have ended up here. I mean, I can say for sure I wouldn't have. No regrets. But I think, if they would have said how hard it is to get a job, I mean, teachers, it's so easy to go to school and get your degree, and you want to be a teacher or be, in that field. It's hard, because when I was going up for some of these jobs for interviews, I was like one of 60, and that was low, because I had some friends that were English teachers. They were one of 1,000. So it helps to have that concentration, but it gets very, very hard to not feel defeated when you don't get the job, and you put your heart into it. You're substitute teaching, you're doing art lessons. You're like, well, I'm doing everything I can possibly think to do to make this career path for myself. But there's one job. And I've noticed, in Pennsylvania, it's a little more difficult to get a teaching credential. The requirements are a little harder, but they pay better. So you can essentially get a job in Pennsylvania. It might not be in the Pittsburgh area. It might be like out towards the east side. And there's now lots of jobs I've seen. So there's a website. It's called Education K through 12, and you can see what jobs are available in your field, just in different places. And I think I wish I would have thought about moving for my career, like maybe moving out west for a couple of years, and getting a job where they're hiring people right off the airplane with a teaching certificate. Whereas here, like I said, you're one of 60 or 70 or 1,000 applicants, and you really have to. It's almost, you have to know somebody. So that makes you feel very defeated as well. So that's hard. But I would say start it when you get out of school. Don't give up, and just keep pushing, and just stay current on your on your academics and stay current on what's happening in the art world, and hopefully you'll get some good results. So it's definitely hard to overcome that, but like everybody else, you have a family, and then that part of life starts. So I think stay focused and get what you want.
Yeah. Going along with that, what is a piece of advice that you want to pass on for those who are thinking of making art their future?
I think art can be anything. So like we talked about earlier, with obvious like visual arts and, performing arts. I think if you have a true passion, even if it's not your career, make it your passion. And if it turns into your career, even better. And just have a plan for, how you're going to achieve those things. I mean, I don't doubt that in 15 years, 20 years, when I retire, that 20, that sounds like so soon. No, like a very long time from now, I'm going to want to be, this lady in a little town, teaching pottery classes. I think it can come back to you at any time. So if it happens to be your path, from start to finish, great. If it's not, don't give up on it. Like, come back to it as you can. Don't let it get lost in life's journey. Just stick with it in any form that you can.
Yeah, like I honestly think I would have, if someone would have told me that when I was a freshman, of course now I'm a senior, like I would have continued like to do art more often than I do, because my freshman year, I feel like I took a break for what felt like an eternity. Like I didn't do anything. Like I had a sketchbook, I always carried it around, but it was completely empty because I didn't have the motivation, because I had so much else going on and just life happened, and I just never really continued it. But of course now with my gold award, I've continued doing things like that, but I wish I would have heard that from someone like 3 years ago.
And it's never too late. I mean, I have thousands of dollars in art, stained glass materials in my basement. I'll get back to it. I could never get rid of it or sell it. I mean, that's just not who I am, but get back in it. Like whatever shape or form you can, make it convenient for you, because life does happen. Life happens, and things come up and people need you for other reasons, and you get it back.
Yeah. So, is there anything else that you would like to add?
For everybody out there who is considering this, like I said, just take it for whatever shape or form it can be in your life. If it's your profession, if it's your career, if it's your personal passion, just take it for what it is and put everything you have into it.
Great. Well, thank you so much for.
You're so welcome, honey. If you need
this.
anything else, you let me know. So good job on getting your gold award. I think that's awesome. And it's going to be a great addition to your resume. I mean, my daughter is like, thinks I'm crazy, but I mean, these things matter, when they're looking at these people who are applying for colleges or for teaching, positions, they look at that stuff and, different. It's not just all academics. You have to be well-rounded in all areas of life. You're looking for different and people that stand out. So great job, honey.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I'll let you know how everything goes.
Awesome. If you need anything else, you just let me know, okay?
I will, for sure.
Okay, sweetie. Take care.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, guys.